Old age doesn't have to be a trap, it can be your greatest adventure. But here's the catch: the secret to thriving later in life is hiding in plain sight, and time is running out to act. What if the best years aren't behind you, but ahead? Don't miss this. The last piece of info. It's the most important. Old age is not something that happens overnight. It does not strike like a bolt of lightning, sudden and dramatic, nor does it announce its arrival with fanfare. Instead, it creeps in silently, like the tide rolling onto the shore, imperceptible at first, yet undeniable over time. It is not a single event that marks the transition from youth to old age, no clear dividing line that one can point to and say, "Here, at this moment, I became old." Rather, it is a gradual erosion, a slow and almost invisible process that unfolds over the years, shaping and reshaping the body, the mind, and the spirit in ways that often go unnoticed until the changes become too significant to ignore. One day, you are strong, capable, and full of purpose. Your body moves with ease, responding effortlessly to your commands. You take for granted the simple joys of motion, bounding upstairs 2 at a time, carrying heavy groceries without a second thought, rising from a chair without a moment's hesitation. Your mind is sharp, brimming with plans, ambitions, and the certainty that time is on your side. You wake up each morning with a sense of direction, a clear purpose that propels you forward. There is no question of your ability, no hesitation in your actions. But then, before you even realize it, something changes. Not all at once, not in a way that demands immediate attention, but subtly in small and almost imperceptible ways. It is not because time is your enemy. Time itself does not conspire against you, nor does it seek to strip away your vitality out of malice. It is not because aging is inevitable in the way most people think it is, as a cruel and inescapable fate that diminishes all in its path. Rather, it is the accumulation of small, seemingly insignificant choices that, over time, shape the course of one's aging. The moments you choose convenience over effort, the times you say, "I'll do it tomorrow" instead of today, the quiet surrender to habits that, though comfortable, slowly chip away at strength, flexibility, and mental sharpness. Aging is not a sudden event, but a long series of decisions, some conscious, others so subtle they pass unnoticed, each one either reinforcing resilience or allowing decline to take root. And before you know it, the reflection in the mirror no longer resembles the person you once knew, not because time has defeated you, but because of the countless moments that, when strung together, have shaped the path you now walk. Most people do not see it happening because it happens so gradually, so subtly, that it almost feels inevitable. They wake up one day and realize they are not as strong, as sharp, or as capable as they once were. But they cannot pinpoint the moment it started. They assume that aging is something that simply occurs, as if it were an unchangeable law of nature, an unavoidable fate that is written into their very existence. They believe that growing older must mean growing weaker, that time alone is the enemy that strips them of their vitality. They accept without question that weakness, irrelevance, and decline are natural consequences of getting older. They look around and see people slowing down, giving up on their ambitions, and resigning themselves to a passive existence. Society reinforces this belief, telling them that their best years are behind them, that it is normal to expect less from life as they age. And so they surrender, not because they have to, but because they have been conditioned to think that they should. But that is not the truth. The reality is far different. The truth is that decline is not simply a matter of time passing, it is a choice, often made unconsciously. It is not the years that take away strength and relevance. It is the absence of challenge, of purpose, of a drive to keep improving. The mind and body do not deteriorate because they must, but because they are neglected, left unstimulated, left without reason to grow. The reality is that most people walk into this trap willingly, though unknowingly. It does not happen overnight, nor does it happen by force. It happens when they begin to let go of their aspirations, when they stop striving for something more, when they start accepting good enough instead of demanding excellence. Little by little, they stop fighting for progress. They allow comfort to replace challenge. They let routine dull their edge. They stop challenging themselves, not because they are incapable, but because they tell themselves they no longer need to. They settle into predictable patterns, avoiding discomfort and uncertainty. They convince themselves that they have earned the right to slow down, to stop learning, to stop pushing the limits of what they can achieve. Without realizing it, they allow their potential to stagnate. They stop setting goals, and with that, they stop moving forward. Without something to strive for, they become static, watching as life continues around them, but no longer feeling like active participants. Their days blur together, each one indistinguishable from the last. The excitement of new possibilities fades, replaced by the dull acceptance of what is rather than the pursuit of what could be. They stop pushing forward, and in doing so, they start slipping backward. Growth does not come from standing still. It comes from effort, from resistance, from a willingness to embrace difficulty. Without that, they begin to fade not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. Their world shrinks. Their ambitions dwindle. And the worst part is, they do not even realize it is happening until they have already lost so much of what once made them feel alive. But it does not have to be this way. Aging is inevitable, but decline is not. The choice to keep challenging, to keep striving, to keep pushing forward, it is always there, waiting for those who refuse to fade. There is a moment, sometimes subtle, sometimes deliberate, when many people decide, consciously or unconsciously, that they have done enough. They look back at their years of hard work, at the sacrifices they have made, and convince themselves that they have reached a point where effort is no longer necessary. They have climbed the mountain, they tell themselves. Now they can finally rest. It feels like a reward, a well-earned pause after decades of striving. But what they do not see is that this decision marks the beginning of a slow and steady decline. They retire not just from their jobs, but from responsibility, from engagement, from growth. It is not merely a shift in career status, it is a shift in mindset. They withdraw from the world in ways they do not fully recognize, stepping back from the challenges that once fueled their ambition. The projects, the goals, the sense of purpose that once defined their days begin to fade. At first, it feels like freedom, longer mornings, fewer obligations, the chance to relax. But before long, that freedom becomes stagnation. And in doing so, they retire from life itself. They assume that rest is what they have earned, that taking it easy is the natural next step. They see it as a reward for their years of effort, but they fail to realize that rest, when detached from purpose, leads to decay. Without something to strive for, without something that demands their energy and attention, they begin to drift. Days blend into one another. The spark that once drove them dims. The world moves forward, but they remain still, watching from the sidelines rather than participating. They assume they have earned the right to rest, to take it easy, but they do not see that true vitality comes not from stillness, but from movement. The moment they stop striving, they begin to deteriorate, not because they are old, but because they have stopped pushing themselves to be better, stronger, sharper. The human body is designed for challenge, for adaptation, for growth. When it is no longer pushed, it weakens. The muscles shrink, the endurance fades, the energy dwindles, not from age, but from disuse. The mind, once sharp and engaged, begins to dull. Without problems to solve, without new ideas to wrestle with, without the constant engagement of curiosity, it starts to slow. The ability to learn, to adapt, to think critically weakens, not because it must, but because it is not being exercised. They forget that the brain, like the body, thrives on challenge. It requires stimulation, effort, and the pursuit of knowledge to remain vibrant. And then the spirit fades. The enthusiasm, the fire, the sense of purpose that once fueled them starts to dim. They feel disconnected, uninspired, unsure of what they are meant to do now that they have stopped striving. They may not even realize it is happening. They may simply feel an emptiness, a sense that something is missing. But what is missing is the drive to keep going, to keep pushing, to keep reaching for something greater. The truth is, aging does not have to mean decline. It is not the passage of time that weakens us. It is the decision to stop growing, to stop challenging, to stop striving. The moment we choose comfort over effort, we invite deterioration. But the moment we choose to keep pushing forward, no matter our age, we reclaim our strength, our sharpness, our fire. We do not stop growing until we decide to, and we do not have to decide to stop. It is not time that takes away your power. Time is merely a witness, an observer of the choices you make. It does not steal your strength, your sharpness, or your relevance. What does is the absence of effort, the slow retreat from challenge, the gradual surrender to comfort. Power is not taken from you. It is abandoned, left to wither because it is no longer nurtured. It is neglect, not the sudden loss of ability, but the quiet erosion of it. The failure to challenge yourself, to push past resistance, to demand more from your body, mind, and spirit. Neglect does not announce itself loudly. It creeps in unnoticed, disguised as rest, as routine, as an acceptance of good enough. It convinces you that slowing down is natural, that stepping back is inevitable, that comfort is the reward for all your years of effort. But comfort, when chosen over challenge, does not bring fulfillment, it brings stagnation. It is the slow, silent decision to let go of the very things that once made you feel alive. The excitement of pushing limits, the satisfaction of mastering a skill, the thrill of learning, of competing, of proving to yourself that you are capable of more. These things do not leave you, you leave them. One day you choose ease over effort. The next you tell yourself you no longer need to try as hard. And before you realize it, the fire that once drove you has dimmed. Not because it had to, but because you allowed it to. Strength does not disappear because of age, it disappears because it is no longer cultivated. The body is designed to grow, to adapt, to become stronger through resistance. It does not weaken because of the years that pass, but because the challenges that once shaped it are no longer present. Muscles shrink when they are not used. Endurance fades when it is not tested. Vitality is not stolen by time, it is lost through inaction. The sharpness of the mind does not fade because of years, it fades because it is no longer exercised. Intelligence, creativity, and mental agility are not gifts that expire. They are abilities that require engagement. The mind, like the body, grows sluggish when left idle. It loses its edge when it is not pushed to think, to solve, to learn. The moment you stop feeding it with new ideas, new challenges, and new perspectives, it begins to dull, not because it is aging, but because it is being ignored. Relevance is not lost because the world has moved on, it is lost because people stop fighting to remain part of it. The world will always evolve, always change, always push forward. Those who remain engaged, who continue to learn, adapt, and contribute, stay connected. They remain a force, a presence, a voice that matters. But those who step back, who withdraw, who assume their time has passed, they do not lose relevance because the world discards them. They lose it because they choose to fade into the background. The truth is, decline is not inevitable. Strength can be rebuilt. Sharpness can be regained. Relevance can be reclaimed. But only if you fight for it. Only if you reject the lie that age means less. Only if you refuse to surrender to stagnation. Because the moment you stop pushing forward, you start slipping backward. But as long as you keep striving, keep learning, keep growing, you will never truly fade. The difference between those who remain powerful well into their later years and those who become weak and irrelevant is not luck. It is not some rare genetic gift, nor is it an accident of fate. It is choice. It is commitment. It is the relentless decision to keep striving, to keep pushing, to keep growing. The people who defy the expectations of aging are not simply fortunate, they are intentional. They make the conscious effort day after day to nurture their strength, sharpen their minds, and remain engaged with the world. It is not genetics that separates the strong from the weak, it is discipline. It is the willingness to show up, to put in the work, to resist the temptation of complacency. Those who remain vibrant understand that strength, intelligence, and relevance are not things you are simply born with or things that time will allow you to keep. They are things you earn, things you cultivate, things you fight for every single day. They do not wake up expecting to feel powerful, they wake up and create that power through action. The people who refuse to accept the slow decay of old age are the ones who never stop learning. They remain curious, always seeking new knowledge, always questioning, always expanding their understanding of the world. They do not allow their minds to settle into stagnation. Instead, they read, they engage in discussions, they challenge their own perspectives, knowing that mental sharpness is not something that fades with age, it fades with disuse. They never stop challenging themselves. They set goals even when they do not have to. They step outside their comfort zones even when it would be easier to stay within them. They test their bodies, their minds, their endurance. They understand that growth only comes through resistance, that strength only lasts if it is maintained, that greatness is never a final destination, it is a continuous journey. And most importantly, they never stop contributing to the world around them. They do not retreat into isolation or assume they have nothing left to offer. Instead, they share their wisdom, their skills, their experience. They mentor, they create, they innovate. They understand that relevance is not something granted, it is something claimed through action. They do not wait for the world to ask for their input. They step forward and make themselves indispensable. Aging is not a sentence, it is an opportunity. The people who thrive are the ones who treat every year as a chance to build, to evolve, to leave an even greater mark on the world than before. They do not fade because they refuse to. They do not weaken because they persist. They do not become irrelevant because they are too busy shaping the future to be left behind. And that is the difference. A lion that stops hunting dies, not instantly, but inevitably. It does not matter how powerful it once was, how fierce, how dominant. Without the drive to chase, to fight, to claim what is necessary for survival, even the mightiest predator becomes weak. Its muscles shrink from disuse, its senses dull from lack of engagement, and its presence in the wild fades until it is nothing more than a memory. Humans are no different. The moment you stop having a goal, something to strive for, something to wake up and fight for, you begin to decline. It may not be obvious at first. There is no loud warning, no immediate sign that you are slipping. But make no mistake, the decline has begun. Without purpose, without a reason to push forward, your strength, both physical and mental, starts to erode. Not all at once, but piece by piece, so slowly that you hardly notice it happening. The most dangerous part of this process is that it does not happen suddenly. There is no single day when everything falls apart, no clear line between who you were and who you have become. Instead, it happens in small, almost imperceptible steps. One day you decide to take it easy. Then you let go of a challenge because it seems unnecessary. Then you stop pushing yourself as hard, telling yourself that you have earned the right to rest. It is not a dramatic collapse, it is a quiet surrender. An inch at a time, a habit lost here, an ambition abandoned there. A little less movement, a little less learning, a little less engagement with the world. At first it feels harmless, even comfortable. But comfort is deceptive. It lulls you into a passive existence, one where your edge fades, your drive weakens, and your potential is left unfulfilled. And then one day you look in the mirror and realize you are only a shadow of the person you once were. The fire that once burned inside you is now a flicker. The sharpness of your mind, the strength of your body, the hunger in your spirit, they have all diminished, not because they had to, not because time took them away, but because you stopped feeding them, stopped cultivating them, stopped fighting to keep them alive. But just as decline is a choice, so is power. The difference between those who wither and those who thrive is not age, not luck, not genetics, it is will. It is the refusal to stop hunting, to stop striving, to stop demanding more from yourself. Because as long as you keep moving forward, as long as you keep setting goals, as long as you refuse to accept mediocrity, you will never truly decline. You will never fade. You will never stop being powerful. The people who stay strong, who stay respected, who remain valuable, are the ones who never stop moving forward. They understand that relevance is not something granted, it is something earned over and over again. They do not sit back and wait for the world to remember them. They step forward and make themselves impossible to ignore. Look at those who dominate their fields, even in old age: leaders, thinkers, creators. These are the people who refuse to slow down, who reject the notion that age is a barrier to greatness. They do not allow themselves to be pushed aside, to be labeled as past their prime. Instead, they continue to innovate, to contribute, to challenge both themselves and the world around them. They understand that mastery is not a destination, but a lifelong pursuit. They do not simply disappear. They do not accept irrelevance as an inevitable fate. They refuse to be sidelined by time, by expectations, by a society that assumes age equals decline. They push back against the narrative that tells them to step aside, to make way for the next generation, as if their wisdom and experience are no longer needed. Instead, they prove through action, through persistence, through excellence that their best days are not behind them. They do not fade into the background. They remain visible, present, and engaged. They continue to learn, to question, to challenge ideas, and reshape the world around them. They seek out new knowledge, embrace new technologies, and refuse to let the world move on without them. They do not live in the past. They evolve with the future. They keep working not because they have to, but because they choose to. Because they understand that work in its truest form is not just about making a living, it is about making an impact. It is about leaving a legacy, about proving to themselves and others that they are still a force to be reckoned with. They keep thinking because a mind that is not challenged will wither. They do not allow their thoughts to grow stale, their perspectives to become rigid. They remain open to change, to growth, to the ever-expanding nature of knowledge. They stay sharp because they refuse to become dull. They keep engaging with the world. They do not withdraw, do not isolate themselves in the comfort of past successes. They stay in the conversation, in the competition, in the arena where relevance is won and maintained. They know that the moment they step away, the moment they stop engaging, they begin to disappear. And because of that, they remain necessary, not as relics of a past era, but as vital, influential forces in the present. They are sought after, respected, and admired not because of their age, but because of their actions. They do not demand relevance, they create it. They do not ask to be remembered, they make themselves unforgettable. That is the difference. That is the choice. And that is the path to true power, one that is not bound by age, but by the willingness to keep moving forward. But there is something even more dangerous than slowing down. Something that accelerates decline more than anything else: the people you surround yourself with. It does not matter how strong, how driven, how ambitious you once were, if you spend your time with those who have given up, who have let go of their hunger for growth, who have allowed themselves to slip into complacency, you will inevitably be pulled in the same direction. Not because you intend to, but because your environment shapes you, whether you realize it or not. If you surround yourself with people who no longer strive for anything, who have surrendered to the idea that their best days are behind them, that is the mindset you will absorb. Their excuses will become your excuses. Their stagnation will become your stagnation. Their quiet surrender will become your own. It happens slowly, without you noticing, until one day you wake up and realize you are no longer pushing yourself. You are no longer chasing anything. You have settled. The truth is, you are a reflection of those you spend the most time with. If you are surrounded by people who challenge themselves, who set goals, who stay curious and engaged, you will naturally rise to their level. Their energy will fuel your energy. Their ambition will ignite yours. Their refusal to accept mediocrity will reinforce your own. But if you allow yourself to be surrounded by those who have chosen comfort over growth, who make peace with decline instead of fighting against it, you will follow that path whether you want to or not. No one is immune to the influence of their environment. No one can stay sharp while surrounded by dullness. So choose carefully. Protect your mindset, your energy, your hunger. Seek out those who are still striving, still learning, still evolving. Surround yourself with people who inspire you, who challenge you, who refuse to let you settle for less than what you are capable of. Because the people in your life will either push you forward or hold you back. And that choice, more than almost anything else, will determine whether you grow stronger or start to fade. There is an old saying, "Show me your friends and I will show you your future." This is even more true as you age. When you are young, your environment shapes your potential. But as you grow older, it shapes your survival. The people around you will either push you forward or drag you into irrelevance. If you surround yourself with those who have resigned themselves to decline, who no longer strive, no longer learn, no longer challenge themselves, then no matter how strong you once were, you will begin to mirror them. Their habits will become your habits. Their lack of ambition will seep into your mindset. Their acceptance of mediocrity will make you question whether you should still be fighting to grow. And once that seed of doubt is planted, the downward spiral begins. If you want to stay strong, you must surround yourself with strong people. Not just physically strong, but mentally strong, emotionally resilient, and relentlessly driven. People who refuse to let age define their limits. People who wake up with purpose, who continue to set goals, who refuse to let life shrink around them. Their energy will fuel yours. Their discipline will reinforce your own. Their refusal to slow down will make you question why you ever considered doing so. If you want to stay sharp, you must engage with those who challenge you. The ones who ask hard questions. The ones who force you to think critically, to defend your beliefs, to consider new perspectives. Mental sharpness is not something you can preserve in isolation. It requires friction, debate, new information, constant adaptation. If the people around you do not push you to think, to learn, to expand, your mind will soften, your edge will dull, and you will become complacent without even realizing it. If you want to remain valuable, you must stay connected to those who value growth. The ones who are still striving, still evolving, still seeking to contribute. Because relevance is not about age, it is about engagement. The world does not discard people because they are old. It discards them because they have stopped participating. If you surround yourself with people who are still in the game, you will remain in the game. If you align yourself with those who are moving forward, you will move forward with them. The truth is, your future is not determined by time, it is determined by the company you keep. Choose wisely. Surround yourself with those who demand more from themselves and in turn demand more from you. Because in the end, you will either rise to meet their level or sink to match their decline. This may mean cutting ties with those who no longer push you to be better. It can be uncomfortable, even painful, but it is necessary if you want to stay alive, truly alive. You cannot continue to grow and evolve while surrounding yourself with people who have stopped growing. Sometimes you have to make the difficult choice to distance yourself from those who no longer have the ambition or the energy to challenge you. This is not about abandoning friendships, but about recognizing that some relationships can no longer contribute to your progress. It may mean seeking out younger minds, fresh perspectives, new conversations. Youth is not just about age. It is about a mindset, a willingness to challenge the status quo, to question, to explore, to learn without boundaries. The young often see the world with eyes unclouded by time or resignation, and their energy, their curiosity, their openness can serve as a powerful reminder of the infinite possibilities ahead. Engaging with them doesn't mean abandoning your experience or wisdom. It means integrating your knowledge with their drive, their creativity, and their willingness to take risks. But one thing is certain: if you allow yourself to be trapped in the same lifeless routines, if you engage in the same empty conversations, if you surround yourself with those who have already given up, you will shrink. You will shrink mentally, physically, and emotionally. Without challenge, there is no growth. Without stimulation, there is no innovation. Without a push, there is no progress. You will fade. It is not a sudden collapse. It is a slow erosion. Your fire will dim. Your sharpness will dull. Your relevance will diminish not because of time, but because of inaction, stagnation, and disengagement. And one day, you will look around and realize that you have become just another part of the scenery. Just another person who stopped fighting, stopped reaching, stopped evolving. You must be vigilant about who you let into your life. Protect your time, protect your energy, protect your ambition. Surround yourself with people who make you feel like you can do more, be more, strive for more. Seek out those who challenge you, who inspire you, who push you to be better. Because your future depends on the choices you make today, and those choices are shaped by the people you allow to influence you. There is one final, crucial element that separates those who remain strong from those who fade: purpose. Without it, nothing else matters. Strength, sharpness, relevance, these things are not sustained by effort alone. They are sustained by a deeper drive, a reason to keep moving forward, a reason to keep pushing against the natural pull of stagnation. Without purpose, there is no fire. Without purpose, even the most powerful person will eventually lose their way. Aging is not just about avoiding decline, it is about becoming something greater. It is not about resisting the inevitable passage of time. It is about leveraging all that time has given you: experience, lessons, victories, losses, and using it to continue growing. With age comes wisdom, but wisdom is not a passive gift. It is an active tool. It is only valuable if it is used, if it is shared, if it is applied. You cannot sit on your wisdom and expect it to keep you relevant. You must use it to continue contributing, to continue shaping the world around you. After decades of life, after all the experiences and lessons, you have something most people lack: wisdom. But wisdom, like everything else, needs to be exercised. It is not enough to simply accumulate knowledge. It must be passed on. It must be applied to real-world challenges. It must be used to create solutions, to mentor others, to guide those who are still growing. Wisdom that is hoarded is wisdom that fades. Wisdom that is shared, however, becomes a light for others and a source of continued strength for yourself. Purpose gives you something to work toward, something to strive for, something to prove. It provides a reason to wake up every day and give everything you have, no matter how old you are. Purpose makes you indispensable. It turns every challenge into an opportunity for growth. Without purpose, you may be alive, but you are not truly living. You are simply existing, floating through time without direction. So find your purpose. Embrace it. Let it fuel you, guide you, and shape your every decision. As long as you have purpose, you will always have reason to keep going, to keep learning, to keep growing, and to keep contributing. With purpose, you will never fade. With purpose, you will continue to become greater with every passing year. And when you look back on your life, you won't see a series of years slipping away. You'll see a life well lived, full of meaning, full of impact, full of the strength and relevance that come from living with intention. You have a choice. It is not just a matter of circumstance, but of will. You can let yourself fade into the background, blending into the shadows of time, surrendering to the slow decay that claims most people as they grow older. You can let your energy drain, your ambitions wither, and your spirit shrink until you are little more than a faint, distant memory of who you once were. You can settle into complacency, into the comfortable idea that your time has passed, that you've earned your rest. You can tell yourself that the world has moved on, that there's no longer a place for your dreams or your desires. But remember, this is not a fate imposed by time, it's a path you choose. You can let the world forget you, or you can stand up and choose to remain in it, to keep your light burning bright. Or you can rise. You can choose to fight against the tide of inevitability, to look the passing years square in the face and declare that you will not succumb. You can refuse to go quietly, to fade into obscurity, to allow the years to steal your strength, your clarity, and your purpose. The slow march of time might be relentless, but your determination is fiercer. You have the power to demand more from yourself, to stay engaged with life, to remain hungry for growth, for knowledge, for contribution. You can keep pushing, keep striving, keep creating, because the choice to stop is always yours. The years may add up, but they don't have to subtract from your potential. You don't have to let them define you. You can insist on being a force in this world until your very last breath. You do not have to become irrelevant. Do not have to give in to the belief that age equals decline. The world needs experience, insight, and perspective, things that only time can give you. You can continue to shape your path, to influence the world, to leave a legacy, no matter how many years have passed. You are not a collection of years, but a sum of your actions, your choices, your willingness to push forward. The wisdom you've gained is a priceless asset, and your ability to contribute in ways that few others can is a treasure. You have something to offer that younger versions of yourself didn't, something that can only come with age, with living, with learning. Your strength is not in the number of years you've lived, but in the will to continue making an impact, to continue evolving, and to continue striving for greatness. The decision is yours. You can fade or you can rise. It's a matter of choice, of intention, of refusing to accept anything less than the full potential of your life. The world still needs your voice, your experience, your hands to build, your heart to connect. So rise with the knowledge that you are capable of more than you know. Rise because the fire inside you can still burn brightly. Rise because time doesn't define your journey, it only offers you more opportunities to make it extraordinary. If you make that choice, if you fight for your relevance, if you refuse to submit to the slow death of comfort and stagnation, then you will not simply grow old, you will evolve. Evolving is not a passive process, it requires intention, effort, and a commitment to growth. It is a deliberate choice to continuously refine yourself, to improve upon who you were yesterday, and to stretch the limits of your potential. To evolve means to continuously transform, to adapt, to expand your capabilities, and to stretch beyond what you thought possible. It means you don't just accept the passage of time as something that diminishes you, but instead you use it as fuel, as a powerful force that propels you toward becoming more of who you were always meant to be. Each day offers you a new opportunity to redefine yourself and to use the wisdom, experiences, and lessons from the past to reshape the future. You will not become a shadow of your former self, retreating into the background as others move forward. You will become a version of yourself that is sharper, stronger, and more relevant than ever before. The wisdom you've accumulated over the years will no longer be something you reflect on with nostalgia. It will be the very foundation upon which you build the future. Your experiences will not be a reminder of what you've lost, but a solid base that allows you to grow even further. What once seemed impossible will become achievable because you now have the depth of understanding that time has gifted you. Evolving is not about resisting aging, it's about embracing it and using every experience, every lesson, every moment of life to propel you towards something greater. It's about expanding your potential, even as time moves forward. You'll keep setting goals, challenging yourself, and pushing your boundaries, just as you did when you were younger. But now, with the strength of experience behind you, the stakes feel different. You are not just surviving, you are thriving, growing, and becoming even more powerful with time. Each challenge will seem less daunting, each setback less defeating, because you understand the value of resilience and the strength of perseverance. To evolve is to remain in motion, never settling for enough, never accepting good enough. It is to be constantly moving forward, always seeking new horizons, new ways to contribute, and new challenges to conquer. It's a commitment to live a life full of purpose and to make the most of every moment, no matter your age. You will find ways to channel your energy into endeavors that ignite passion within you, to continue expanding your capacity to love, to create, to lead. So if you choose to fight, if you choose to rise, you won't simply get older, you'll continue to evolve into the best version of yourself. You'll redefine what it means to age, and you'll prove that your best days are not behind you, but still ahead. Your story isn't ending. It's unfolding in ways you have yet to discover. Each day is an opportunity to become a greater version of yourself, to create a life filled with meaning, and to live with intention. Evolving is not a destination, it's a way of life. And your journey is far from over.